What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Knives of the Round Table. My name is Marco, and today we are taking a look at the Bark River Knives Cub. So this one I got a while ago. Problem is, I live in the city, and because I live in the city, my only real chance that I have is during, summer breaks, winter breaks, Thanksgiving, whenever I go out camping or out to the woods or out to the ranch or whatever, right? So I hadn't had a chance to take my Cub out for a spin. And now that I have, I wanted to kind of bring you the review, give you my thoughts on it. And yeah, so let me give you kind of what this knife is. This is, again, the Bark River Cub. And this one's kind of a weird shape. It's a little bit kind of, if you took kind of the squat leader and you stretched it, right? It's kind of what that is. It's a much more it's a narrower blade. It's a lot longer. It's more nimble. But let me kind of show you here. You are looking at a probably 5.5-inch blade-ish or thereabouts. This one is in the, so it's got the it's the maple burl with the fancy what do they call these pins, with the fancy pins? The mosaic pins is what they call it. And then it's got the red liners on, and this is a 3V blade. What you have here is your typical convex grind that Bark River does on most or all of their knives. I think all of their knives. At least I have, I don't know, 6 or 7 of their knives, and they all have that grind. You've got a drop point. You've got a fuller. But again, this is kind of a narrower knife, and I'll show you here some size comparisons. So this is the SE5. So lengthwise in that neighborhood, certainly in the neighborhood of the SE5 for sure, lengthwise. That is the SE3. In how narrow or how tall this knife is, very much in the neighborhood of the SE3. This knife proportions are what I'm usually used to, right? A little bit of a taller blade, a little bit more compact. This one is certainly longer, certainly narrower than your SE5 or your typical kind of proportions of a knife. It's narrower than the SE5. The SE5, it's a full 1/4 inch. This is substantially less. It feels not only is it thinner, it's narrower. So you hold these two, and this one feels twice as heavy. That's just how it feels. For those of you who do not have fixed blades in your collection, you're thinking of maybe making this one your first. I always give you the size comparison of a pair 2, right, and your pair 3. So that's kind of what those look like. So the size of this knife, so you get to a size like the TRC Apocalypse, the CRK Pacific, the Strike Force 2, and those are very, very long blades. This is more of a somewhere between. I usually, if I'm going out on a trail, I'll have a kind of a 4-inch blade, something like an SE3, something in this size range is what I usually have. If I'm at camp, I have something like the SE5 or something like the Bark River, something like the Strike Force 2, something that is much bigger. This one is very much in the neighborhood of the Squad Leader 2, and it's more of a jack of all trades kind of a thing, right? It's, if you're not thinking that you want to take 2 knives to wherever you're going, right? If you don't want to take the combination of a small belt knife and a large kind of camp knife, you want something that kind of has the ability to do kind of all of it. If you want something like that, then this is kind of where that knife falls in. in that category. This is jack of all trades. And, you know, the saying goes, jack of all trades is master of none, right? But what's important about that saying is that there's actually a little bit of a corollary to that, and nobody, or a lot of people don't know it. And it's jack of all trades is master of none, but still better than master of one. So so this is kind of a jack of all trades, right? You could put in some batoning. You know, I think the thickness is enough that you could baton with this. I think it's got enough length that you could do some chopping. It doesn't have as much mass as something like the SE5, you know. But if you had to, right? If you absolutely had to, you could do some fine work with this. It's actually a very nimble blade. Because it's narrow, because it's thinner, you know, it's a lot faster than kind of those bigger knives that are harder to wield. So this is, if you wanted to have something that was, like I said, a jack of all trades, something that you might use for a lot of things, then this is a very good knife. It's certainly it's a little bit longer than what you have on the Bravo 1, but the proportions are kind of like the Bravo 1 is, if you just grew it that way, it's probably closer to the Bravo 1.25 is what it is. Now, as far as the ergonomics, you've got your classic awesome ergonomics for Bark River, right? You've got your contouring in this direction, and this one has a little bit of a bigger butt. So whenever you're batoning, it's very unlikely that it pulls out of your hand, you know. And so that one's a little bit bigger. If I show you, for example, this is the squad leader. If I show you that, you can see that the comparison between this and this to this and this one's much wider. So it stays in your hand, especially when you're doing tasks that where the knife might fly out of your hand, where you're doing, and that kind of lends, it's part of why the knife is fast, right? You can do a lot more work with it. But you got your typical ergonomics of Bark River, right? Where you have, and you're gonna have to forgive, they just started cutting grass. So you have your typical ergonomics, right? You have, you know, the contouring in this direction. You have your Coke bottle kind of shape in this direction. Outstanding feeling in the hand. It feels my hand perfectly. I wear a large glove, and this just feels my hand really well. It does have some jimping here, but for whatever reason, if I'm holding it in a hammer grip, obviously I don't need the jimping. It feels really good. But if I'm going in a saber grip, the jimping really should be somewhere over here. It's here. I kind of have to. It's kind of a weird position for the jimping, at least in my opinion. So, from an ergonomic standpoint, really good. The position of the jimping, I think it's incorrect. I think the jimping should be closer over in this area of the knife, and I think it would be really good. I didn't have any problems because of the kind of contouring of the butt and the front end of the kind of the, I'm not sure if the fullers with the Rocazzo maybe, you know, so it's very secure in your hand. So I didn't feel like I was gonna lose control of the knife. But if you're gonna put jimping, I think they put it in the wrong place. So you, like I said, you got a drop point here. I did a fair amount of wood processing. Like I said, there's not enough mass here to be a great chopper, but it's a decent chopper. There's not enough thickness to be a great batoner, but it's a decent batoner. And that's what you get with something like this, right? You can do some carving for sure. Much more easily than something like the TRC Apocalypse. This is much easier to move and to handle. So while I don't think it excels at any one task, I think it does reasonably well in a lot of different tasks. So like I said, if you're looking for something, you don't want to carry a kind of more specialized dedicated tools, a smaller knife for carving, a larger one for heavier duty tasks, I think it's an excellent choice here in the Cub. Fit and finish on this one's very good. I did the review. I reviewed the Squad Leader, the Strike Force 2, and that one had some issues, fit and finish and quality control, that I don't see on this one. I think the only one that I might see is where the drop here starts. You expect this line to be kind of perpendicular to the axis. It's a little bit off, just a smidge, but not enough to where I'll knock them for it. You got the sharpening choil is fairly well positioned. A little bit of a smile there at the tail end. Most of these are hand ground, so I think this one's very well done. I'm happy with the quality control. The wood, the pins, everything, the liners just feels flawless in this. Now this one comes with a leather sheath that has the strap here in the back, and this one works reasonably well. You've got your attachment points to strap it onto things. You got, if you wanted to do I've seen people do a trick where they attach elastic to these things to kind of pull them apart, so that when you open it, they pull apart. So you can do that with this. It stays very secure in the sheath. I don't worry at all that my knife is going to go anywhere with the strap. It hugs it really well. What I do with my knife sheaths, I put the oven offs, and maybe I'll do a video on that, on how to do oven offs on leather. Just it's the protection that you can put on your sheath. It darkens it quite a bit, which I like a lot more, and it protects it from the elements. So guys, again, this falls under the kind of jack of all trades type of knife. It's not a very, I don't think it's a very specialized tool, but I think it's a very well made tool. I usually prefer to have kind of a smaller belt knife and a larger heavy task knife. That's just my preference. If you're looking for something that does all of it, I do recommend it. If you're more like me, that you like a little bit more specialized tool, this one's gonna feel again lacking in lacking if you want to do carving, lacking if you want to do batoning or chopping, that type of stuff. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully this has been helpful, and if I earned it, then like and subscribe. Don't hit the notification button. Nobody likes to get more notifications. And until I see you at the next one, take care.